A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Our next guest leads an initiative that connects parents in prison with their children through the delivery of Christmas gifts. Well, for over 30 years, Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree program has been providing children of prisoners Christmas gifts on behalf of their incarcerated mothers and fathers. And along with that, of course, a simple message about God's love and forgiveness. Tim Atwood is the Queensland State Manager for Angel Tree, part of Prison Fellowship Australia. Hey, Tim, welcome along to 2020.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be able to have this opportunity to talk about this great program.
Well, Tim, what an amazing program it is, as it provides that link between children and their imprisoned parents. It must be so welcomed.
It really is, and it is an important connection because obviously most parents are coming out. Most people who are in prison who have kids are coming out, and anything that we can do to facilitate that relationship is really important. We want to make sure that bond remains as strong as possible moving forward.
You know, it's a fascinating history, isn't it, of Angel Tree as a part of Prison Fellowship. I wonder if you've got an in a nutshell version of how it all got started.
Well, like a lot of the programs that began for Prison Fellowship, I think it's lived experience. So like Chuck's experience, who started Prison Fellowship in America, he went to prison. A lady named Mary Kay, she was very similar. She went to prison. She got to see the effects of on parents and on the children. And she never expected that she was going to leave prison, but when she did in around the mid 20th century, she came out and she wanted to make sure that she could do something to begin the process of trying to keep those connections between father and son and mother and daughter and father and daughter, and it was just an important thing for that, and to keep those sort of spirits up at around Christmas time.
Amazing, isn't it? The way initiatives like yours get off the ground. Mary Kay Beard, who was herself a very cynical, you might even say depressed prisoner, and she just was so inspired by the fact that people got up early and came to her prison. And then when you mentioned Chuck Colson, that so many know from the Watergate scandals, that he was a prisoner himself and was the one who formed Prison Fellowship. So it's amazing how these things form from people who were themselves incarcerated.
That's right, and I think that lived experience has been really important. I think it's been important to people on the inside to know that while every inmate's journey is unique to them, there are certainly plenty of people inside our organisation who know exactly what it is that they're experiencing, at least from their perspective.
Now, Angel Tree, a powerful way for churches to get involved here. How can churches be involved in Angel Tree? Because what you're doing is you're connecting these incarcerated parents with their children, and undoubtedly there'll be people in churches, perhaps all over Australia, who are thinking this is a project we could pick up on and become part of in our local church. Is that happening? And I guess you'd want that to happen all the more.
Yeah, that is happening, and in fact, it's been happening for nearly 30 years in Queensland, and basically about the same amount of time throughout the rest of the country. And we couldn't do Angel Tree without those partner churches. And I've been a local church pastor. I was a local church pastor in northern New South Wales, and churches are often looking for opportunities to connect with people within their own backyard. And this is a very viable way to do it. It's a brilliant connection between people who are hurting, who are vulnerable, and who are looking for support for the local church to come alongside and to provide that, particularly at their door, making that connection in that way.
And all those listening into our conversation today, and they could be even in far-flung regions of Australia, there's prisons that are going to be nearby. Does Angel Tree and Prison Fellowship, are you operating in all of the major prisons around Australia?
Yeah, we operate in virtually every adult prison in Australia.
All right. How does the church volunteer get involved in this? Is there some sort of a process? Is there something that happens? Obviously, someone's buying a gift, must have some sort of value on it. And how do they get that connected through Angel Tree and into the hands of a parent or a child when they're involved in this whole process?
Yeah, that's great. So it does differ a little bit each state, but I would say that there's a way in which every state can get involved with it in their own area. And if they go to prisonfellowship.org.au, they'll come to the website, and there's an Angel Tree tab, and that'll give them a connection to the national team. And the national team will be able to connect anybody, no matter where they are in the country, to the local representative in the area. And that way, those churches, no matter where they are, and in fact, they don't even necessarily have to be right near a prison, because sometimes you get people who are nowhere near the prisons, but that's where they've ended up. So even if you're looking around, you're going, well, there's no prison around us. If you feel passionate about the idea of connecting with families in your own backyard, there's a pretty good chance that there might be somebody within your community that has someone in prison. So it's always a great idea to connect through the website.
Christmas is one huge opportunity, isn't it, when it comes to an initiative like Angel Tree? And I just note that some churches have taken this beyond Christmas and begun to connect with prisoners and with families, sending a birthday card as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's so I think one of the beautiful parts about all of this is that Angel Tree becomes the first step. And we beyond the birthday cards, we're now having churches that are putting up their hands to say, we want to become restoration hubs. And part of the way they're doing that is by hosting day camps, which we help them with. We help them come up with all of the compliance and all of those sorts of things. But they're the ones who are there, right there in the community, and able to bring kids along and their families and put on an event for them in a very simple way, and then go on and provide mentoring. And so it's the first step of something that can become a really key facet to these families' lives.
Tim, how do you describe what you're doing in the context of a really practical way of outworking your Christian walk? By connecting with prisoners. I mean, we know what Jesus said, if you come to visit, even the least of these in prison, it's like you've visited me. So how do you describe that in a practical Christianity sense?
Look, I always say the Prison Fellowship is really a missions agency. We have one of the biggest mission fields within Australia. There are some 45,000 prisoners. And then when you add their families into that, there's well over 100,000 people in Australia, the vast majority of them unconnected with any church, that we have an open door to be able to connect people to. And so in a lot of ways, mission doesn't have to be done overseas. It can be done right here in Australia in this way. And it really is cross-cultural ministry, because the vast majority of people that are in our churches are kind of upper middle class, well-educated, and not having necessarily a great mind to what's going on in prison. And oftentimes it's not like that. They need to go out of their way and be sacrificial in the way that they meet people where they're at. The Prison Fellowship is definitely a mission agency in Australia.
And I imagine that this is just a little introductory opportunity for a church to actually get even more deeply involved with prison ministry. And I know that there are a lot of churches that are deeply involved and do some significant things. This is just an opportunity, isn't it? Because you're going to find the right people with the right passions and the right level of sacrifice that say, I really want to reach out and be in touch one-on-one with perhaps these incarcerated mothers and fathers. And in so doing, you've got a whole family that benefits. So for a church to get involved in this, it seems like a no-brainer. Of course, you want to have someone from your church representing you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a brilliant program. I mean, I might be biased, but I think it's a brilliant program. And we talk to churches. I'm in a constant conversation with churches in Queensland, and a lot of them are talking about the fact that they want to be missional, they want to be on mission, but they don't necessarily know where the mission is. And so we have one. We definitely have a brilliant mission for people to be a part of. and to serve in this way.
Tim, I note that in the state of Queensland, there was something like more than 1,600 children who were the recipients of these gifts that came with their parents' name on it. Those parents, mothers and fathers who were incarcerated, and no doubt that 1,600 or so in Queensland looks significant higher when you've got all of Australia participating in this.
Yeah, that's correct. And so I actually had the pleasure of delivering about 80 gifts myself. And a lot of those kids have very strained, particularly face-to-face relationships with their parents. They might have letters, they might have phone calls. Every now and again, they might be able to go in. But to be able to see a child to receive a gift like this, it's very clear that for a lot of them, this is probably one of the deepest connections that they have with mum or dad inside throughout the whole year. And so it's significant even for the people that are involved to be part of that.
Is it significant enough to even say that you might actually be reaching out, but creating a bridge that might well save family relationships even into the generations ahead?
Yeah, and that's the aim. I think that a lot of people miss the fact that children who have a parent that's incarcerated are 6 times more likely to be incarcerated themselves. And there's a lot of factors that go into that, but Prison Fellowship are trying to come up with a circuit breaker in that cycle to be able to provide children with other people in their lives and even important people for their families to be able to show another way, another direction, and another bit of hope. Things that we would take for granted, I think, in our own families don't necessarily get taken for granted for these kids.
I guess the easiest way to think of what you're doing there with Angel Tree and getting a start would be coming up with $30 for a Christmas present that might have the names of an incarcerated mother or father that's going to find its way into the hands of one of their children. And what a wonderful way to get involved in the Christmas spirit of what's coming this year by doing something like this in a sense of our practical Christian faith. Tim, to connect with Angel Tree, is it just going through the Prison Fellowship website that people connect with you?
I think that's the best way. People can email me as well, and my email is tim.atwood@prisonfellowship.org.au. If you're in Queensland particularly, that's the best avenue. But outside of that, the website is definitely the best place to connect for other states.
So you can connect with Angel Tree all over Australia at the Prison Fellowship website, prisonfellowship.org.au. Tim mentioned his own Tim.Atwood, wasn't it?
That's right, tim.atwood@prisonfellowship.org.au.
tim.atwood@prisonfellowship.org.au. Hey, Tim, thanks so much for sharing these thoughts and insights, and I think you've probably inspired a heart or two to get involved in Angel Tree. Thanks for sharing these things with us today on 2020.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.